The film starts and we observe a pregnant woman named Natalia, who is also expecting to give birth soon, accompanied by her mother, Alina. Natalia begins to feel sick, and without hesitation, her mother rushes her to the hospital. Yet considering it's the middle of the night, there's a scarcity of medical staff. Nevertheless, a dedicated nurse steps in to assist with the birth, and Natalia successfully delivers her baby. The appearance of the newborn takes everyone by surprise. People were astonished and perplexed, not believing what they were witnessing. For a child was born who began to fly immediately upon birth, and even the clapping audience was amazed, with one of them saying that an angelic child had been born among us. However, Natalia's mother, a wise and experienced woman, quickly understood. The child is now normal, as expected, for this child was born without gravity. Those people are quite protected and immediately called the hospital. They leave the hospital while the nurse is still explaining that it's not yet time for them to go, but they don't listen and return home. When they reach home, Natalia's mother asks her a strange question, asking her to remember who the father of the child is. But Natalia can't recall who it is. Then her mother informs her this is no ordinary child and that they must keep this a secret, as if anyone finds out, they will face many troubles. They might face interests. Then they select the child's name as Oscar. And indeed, Oscar was not a normal child because he was quite difficult to handle. Whenever they left him alone, he would stick to the ceiling and remain there for long periods. Seeing this, his grandmother made several belts for him so that the child would stay on the ground and the ceiling too. They made it very soft and lightweight so that the child wouldn't get hurt, as they were also afraid that if they didn't do this, if someone is left alone outside, they will fly into the air and go somewhere in space. That's why people are very conscious about Oscar. His grandmother and mother take great care of him. As time goes, Oscar starts to grow up, but he stays at home because his grandmother doesn't let him go out. At home, he mostly watches Superman cartoons on TV and imagines that he too is a superhero. Then Oscar often asks his mother, Natalia, why they don't let him go outside. Yet they overlook Oscar's words. He frequently looked out the window, observing folks walking by again and again, longing for the unconstrained existence of other kids who were either attending school or enjoying games. He profoundly longed for a liberating lifestyle, dreading the possibility of everlasting confinement. Subsequently, on a day filled with exasperation at home, Oscar attempted to flee via the window, only to be spotted by his grandmother, who was filled with wrath. Upon seeing her grandson's act, Grandma seals all the windows and explains to Oscar that he will never go outside the house, not like those children who go to school. Instead, he will study while staying at home. Hearing this, Oscar's mother gets very angry and says how long we will keep him confined in this prison. One day he has to go out. Then Oscar's mother brings him a jacket with pockets in which she places 2 stones so he can't fly away. She doesn't listen to her own words and takes Oscar outside with her, along with the stones. Oscar also tells that he will not reveal his secret to anyone like Superman, otherwise he can never become one. Then one day, Oscar goes out to purchase some items with his mother and he accidentally bumps into a little girl. The girl's name is Agatha and all her things fall from her hands. She yells at Oscar and gives him 2 bottles of water as punishment, saying that now he must take them to her house with her. However, Oscar refuses to do so. However, if Agatha persists, Oscar subsequently acquiesces and accompanies the girl without informing his mother. Presently, Oscar is burdened with 2 weighty bottles in his grasp, in addition to stones in his pocket. Overcome by the heaviness, he removes the stones from his pockets and discards them. Soon he establishes a friendship with Agatha. When they arrive at her abode, Agatha requests a bottle of water, yet Oscar denies her request, aware of the circumstances. It is believed that if he gives her the water bottle, she'll fly away because she doesn't understand gravity, and she snatches the bottle from Oscar. As soon as she takes it from Oscar, he floats into the air. The area is quite enclosed, so Oscar doesn't fly too high. Ekta, surprised, shouts and calls him Superman. Oscar asks for help. Hearing this, Ekta immediately goes to her room, fetches her pink bag filled with stones. Over here. His notion was to put these stones in his pockets, which was certainly a smart move. The strategy is successful, and Oscar arrives safely. Subsequently, they develop a strong bond of friendship. Oscar requests Agatha to vow to keep this confidential and share it with no one. In the meantime, Oscar's absence causes his mother and grandmother a great deal of anxiety. They search for him thoroughly, entertaining the notion that he might have soared into the sky since the stones his mother tucked into his pocket have disappeared. He finds them fallen on the ground. Then Oscar comes home with the same bag that Egta gave him and tells his mother about Egta. His mother then asks him if he had revealed his secret to her. He lies to his mother, claiming that he did not disclose it. Oscar and Egta continue to meet for many days thereafter. One day, Oscar's mother discovers that Egta knows about the secret. From that day onwards, she doesn't allow him to meet Egta. Despite that, Egta tries several times to see Oscar. She used to visit Oscar at his home, but Natalia turned her away right from the door. Then the neighbors started looking at them with suspicion, thinking perhaps Oscar's mother and grandmother were ill-treating him. That's why they wouldn't let him out of the house much, and he didn't go to school either. Eventually, they reported this to the police. The next day, the police arrived at their home and warned them to send Oscar to school from the following day, forcing them to comply. Then, Oscar's mother, Sat, ventures to school and concludes that Oscar is unable to lead an ordinary life. They return home with Oscar, their eyes brimming with tears. His mother grasps the situation, prompting them to abandon their dwelling. They commence a life anew at a distant location, enduring for numerous years. Presently, as Oscar matures, his mother ages considerably. His grandmother leaves this world, and Oscar retains possession of the pouch gifted by Egta. He constantly kept the bag close, even resting alongside it, yet his way of living remained unaffected, dwelling tranquilly at home, whilst his existence was built on clandestine truths. Oscar and his mother harbored profound affection towards one another. Oscar had grown tired of his existence, fatigued from harboring this secret. He believed that revelation to the world could catapult him to instantaneous global fame. In an ideal. While many would write books about the real-life Superman, his mother wanted nothing of it, explaining that it could lead to losing him if the world discovered his secret. To honor his mother, he exercised patience, but eventually his restraint began to fade, and one day he left home without informing her. He then attended a magic show where people's talents were showcased, and there, for the first time, he displayed his own talent. Yes, he goes. Then that same night, the show becomes a hit and even his mother ends up watching it. In this matter, Oscar's mother feels helpless as many people have already seen Oscar on TV and he becomes famous. The next day, he meets a man named David who actually is a content agent. He tells Oscar that he can help him become famous. "We will organize a very big show which will make you famous," he says. Then he gives Oscar a very big house where he can live. Moreover, he convinces Oscar to sign the agreement as Oscar longed for fame. United, they present a magnificent performance, and almost instantly, Oscar gains stardom, subsequently recognized as the man without gravity. They take great pleasure in their careers and generate a considerable income. However, eventually, Oscar comes to understand that the beverage he noticed in his youth was intended to transform him into Superman. He's not a superhero but has become a puppet that people use for their entertainment. They used to call him for photo shoots and magic shows. Gradually, he starts disliking it all. Though many books are written about him, numerous magazines published and documentaries are made which portray his grandmother and mother in a negative light, something Oscar finds very upsetting. And then there's the final show where they dress him in an angel costume which he detests. He feels bad, he says he's no angel, he gets very angry and starts insulting people in the show itself. Then he tells his mother that he has decided to give it all up. Then he tells his agent that this was the end of his job. He is no longer famous and Majid won't do this work anymore. His agent tries to convince him that he can't just quit like this, but Oscar is fed up with all of it. He says go and tell them that the man without gravity has died or vanished into thin air. The yogurt blew away. He then says goodbye to his mother too because he wants to lead a different life, and the next day the news reports that the man without gravity has died, with many people making various claims about him. Oscar's mother begins to live alone with many visitors coming to ask about Oscar, but she tells them nothing, and then many years pass. Oscar's mother also dies, but Oscar was still alive, living life in a unique lifestyle. He had grown a large beard and was confined to a wheelchair to keep his secret from the world. He had even changed his name and started working as a receptionist in a hotel. Everyone treated him well, and one day his childhood friend Agatha recognized him because of the pink bag he still had, the one she had given him as a child. It was because of that bag he remained grounded and never got married. The two of them saw each other. Playing sports often brings joy. However, Ajita is not satisfied with her life because her character has deteriorated. Her sole objective has become to earn money. Frequently, she was seen at hotels with various men where Oscar was present, which deeply upset him. Oscar expressed his feelings to Ajita many times, but she had changed and would ignore his words. This clearly indicated that Oscar had not yet let go of her from his heart. The reason for her transformation was that she had endured a life full of sorrows, and even Oscar had left her. As time passed, they came to understand each other and eventually got married, beginning their life together in the very house where they had spent their childhood, and that's where the movie ends.